So welcome. Hello, everyone. Um, my name is Amy Rosenfeld. I'm a registered dietitian at Northern Westchester Hospital, which is part of Northwell Health, located in Mount Kisco, New York. Some of you might have been a part of the Zoom room before. If you have, I welcome you back. If you're new to the Zoom room with me, thank you for joining us today. Today's program is Homemade Holiday Gifts, and this program is part of Northern Westchester Hospital's Center for Healthy Living, which is your virtual location for all wellness education. It is a physical space located in Chappaqua, New York, and is currently our laboratory testing site as well as COVID testing location. And hopefully one day will be a site of live education once again. But for now, the Center for Healthy Living is your virtual location for all wellness. And I am here today to do a program to introduce us into the holiday season in a healthy way. We all love to make homemade gifts for our loved ones for many reasons. They're personal, they're heartwarming, and also just so much more affordable. So what I thought we'd do today was do a program all about healthy options that you can do for the holidays. Typically, many of us like to give cakes and cookies and things like that, which are delicious. And of course, I do not believe in good foods or bad foods. I think all foods have a time and place. But there's nothing better than giving the gift of health. So we thought give you some ideas of healthy ways that you can share your love with people this year. I'm going to demo a couple of recipes for you today, as well as show you the completed versions of some of them. All right, there we go. All right, so we're gonna have 5 different recipes today. I hope you all received your recipe packets. I welcome you to cook along with me or watch, take notes, have a snack while you're watching me, and cook these recipes or make these recipes later. So the 5 different recipes that we're gonna make today, we're gonna make a muesli, we're gonna make a fruity, nutty chocolate bark. Those are 2 that I'm going to prepare live for you today. And then I'm going to show you how to prepare 3 different types of what I call presents in a jar, or gift kits, if you will. So we're going to show you how to make a 2-bean chili mix in a jar, Sunday breakfast in a jar, and movie night kits. And all of these could be fun for lots of different age groups. So to get started, I'm going to get started with our muesli. Now, some of you might not be familiar with muesli. Muesli is a cereal you see a lot in Europe, especially in the Nordic countries, and it can be prepared hot or cold. And it can also be something that you mix into other dishes or top on top of things to give your dishes a little extra crunch, a little extra fiber. So this is how I'm going to demo to you how to make it homemade. And you can definitely buy it in a store, but of course, every time you make something homemade, it always comes out just a little bit better. So to make the muesli, and I'm going to turn my camera down for you to see. There we are. Okay. The first thing that you have here are rolled oats. Now you want to pick the kind of rolled oats that are flat, as you can see here in my hand. You don't want to pick ones that are steel cut for this recipe. While steel cut oats are really wonderful for our digestion, and they are certainly high in fiber and good for our cholesterol and a more natural form of oats. For this recipe, you want to use flat, old-fashioned oats. And oatmeal, as we know, is a wonderful thing to include in our diet for many reasons. It's full of soluble fiber, which helps to reduce our cholesterol. It helps to keep us full and satisfied from meal to meal. It also is really important in health for diabetes. If you have blood sugar control, it's one of those foods that keeps your blood sugar really in check. So on this tray, I have the rolled oats. I also have mixed in here wheat bran. Wheat bran, and I'll try to put some up here for you. There we go. Wheat bran is a really healthy form of fiber that's loaded in a healthy form of cereal that's loaded, is a whole grain, and it is loaded with insoluble fiber, which is the kind of fiber that helps our GI tract move along and helps us to have regularity to go to the bathroom. So I have on this tray, I have the wheat germ, the half a cup of wheat bran, half a cup of wheat bran, 3.5 cups of the rolled oats. I have on here coconut. Now I've already toasted this tray, so you're using coconut flakes, all right? Coconut flakes before they are toasted would look like this, all right? So after I put this in the oven, they turn this nice shade of golden brown. Coconut is also really rich in fiber, but it's also high in saturated fats, so you want to use that to a minimum. So on this tray, I mix together my coconut flakes, my wheat bran, my rolled oats, and my cinnamon. And what I did was I tried to put it in a very even layer, as you can see here. I mixed it around and I put it into the oven for about 7 minutes. Every oven's a little different. You just want to toast it until your coconut looks the way it was, like I showed you, a golden brown, just lightly toasted. Once you've done that, set that aside and let it cool. And you're going to get your nut and seed mixture here. So your nut and seed mixture, what I've mixed together on this tray, is a different variety. And you don't have to use what I use. Use whatever nuts are comfortable for your family, that you enjoy, that you like. I have on here some walnuts, some chopped walnuts. Walnuts are especially high in what we call omega-3s, which is really good for your brain, to keep your blood nice and thin, so it's protective for your heart. I also have on here slivered almonds. I like the taste of slivered almonds better for this recipe, but you could also use whole almonds if that's preferable to you and chop them up. I have on here sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds are a really great and underutilized seed, especially if you're allergic to nuts in your house. Sunflower seeds have all the rich, healthy fats and protein and fiber of nuts without the allergens. So sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds would be a good addition to this recipe. And I also have on here chia seeds. I'm trying to get a little chia seeds on here so you can see it up close what they look like. Chia seeds are little teeny tiny seeds, if you can see that. And they are also wonderful for you in terms of vitamins, healthy fats, protein. And they also have this special quality that causes them to bulk up whatever they use. So they hold on to their water and create a very thickened mixture. So when you are adding this cereal to milk or to yogurt, it thickens it up. And of course, thickening it up in the oatmeal or in the milk or the yogurt or whatever you're utilizing, you then can imagine what it does in your GI tract, right? It bulks up everything and helps to keep you full and satiated as well. So I'm going to pop this into the oven because you want to toast these for about same amount or until they're fragrant. All right. Pop this up for a second. Hello. And by the way, if you have any questions while I'm presenting, you certainly can put a question in the Q&A. Happy to answer them. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this muesli and I'm going to get it into my bowl. All right. While we're waiting for our nuts to toast, I will show you how to make our next recipe. But basically what you're gonna do, let me see if I can do this a little bit easier here. There we go. Using the parchment paper makes things so much easier because then, magic done. There we go. All right. So after I had let that cool for about 5 minutes, get every little bit in there. And when my nuts are done, we're gonna mix it all together. And we'll see how that turns out. Okay, so while we're waiting for our nuts to cook, I'm gonna move on to the next recipe, all right? The fruity nutty chocolate bark. Now the fruity nutty chocolate bark is interesting because it tends to give people that satisfaction of giving a sweet treat for the holidays, which we all want to do, right? But in a healthier way. So the fruity nutty chocolate bark is loaded with dark chocolate. 70% dark chocolate is what I'm recommending because that's the highest antioxidant level from chocolate. And a high antioxidant dark chocolate is actually good for you in small amounts, in about 1 ounce portions, because of the protective antioxidants that help to protect us against disease. So in small amounts, 1 ounce, that's the equivalent to 1 square, it's actually good for you. And what I'm going to show you how to do is to make your own chocolate bar. Okay, so chocolate bars from the grocery store tend to be much higher in calories, tend to be much higher in preservatives and chemicals. So this is a way that you can make your own chocolate bar for the holidays in a healthy way. So we're going to take the dark chocolate, which I melted, and you want to melt this over a double boil. All right. And when you're melting chocolate, what's really important, you see how shiny it is? It's really, really important to use barred chocolate instead of the chocolate chips because they have stabilizers in them. So when you're doing a recipe like this, where you're making a high quality chocolate bar for someone, I recommend using true chocolate bar, not the chocolate chips, and stir constantly. That's how you get that shine. Also, you want to watch the temperature on your pot. You put the boiling water and a glass bowl over it and let it go to a gentle boil. Careful not to let the chocolate bottom of the bowl touch the boiling hot water because that will scorch your chocolate. So you want to make sure that there's a good distance there and that you're constantly stirring and heating it on a relatively medium to high temperature, not the highest possible. And you will get this glossy shine. That's what you want. When it doesn't have, when it's too high of a temperature, you're going to scorch the chocolate and it will be dull. And that you definitely don't want. All right, so to make our chocolate, once you've melted it and it's nice and melted, and I do recommend doing it in a double boiler, it comes out so much better. We're gonna mix in our almonds. Again, I'm using slivered almonds because I think for baking purposes, it comes out really well. Almonds are also a really great source of calcium. If you're somebody who doesn't like dairy or is lactose intolerant, it's a really good option. I'm using coconut flakes. I tend to make recipes with similar ingredients so that I'm never wasteful, especially during the holidays. We all have so many expenses. It's good to keep that in mind and think, how can I use this entire bag of coconut? And I tried to give you a lot of recipes today with some overlap here. All right, so I mixed in my coconut flakes and I mixed in my almonds, and now I'm choosing to use dried cherries. My boys in my family love dried cherries, and cherries and chocolate tend to go really, really well together. But you could use any dried fruit for this. You could use raisins, you could use dried blueberries. I have that for the muesli we're going to use later in a little bit. Whatever dried fruit you like. I'm gonna mix that in here. And when you're mixing it in, you really want to make sure everything gets really well incorporated and soaked by the chocolate. And then using a sheet. Oh, let me just pull my nuts out. I don't want them to burn. Let me grab that. You're going to get a piece of parchment paper and line that piece of parchment paper. There we go. So you're going to get your piece of parchment paper and you're going to line that so we can spread the chocolate on an even surface. All right, there we go. If your bowl is hot, please be careful. I have cook's hands. I never get burned. So we're gonna pour that onto your parchment paper, and we're gonna spread that out into an even layer so the chocolate can cool. All right, so just take your spatula and kind of push it around. And again, you could do this with anything. You could make a less healthy version of this and mix in, you know, I've seen versions with Oreos or, cookies in there. I've seen versions with just nuts. This is the one I'm recommending because, again, it will give us the nutrients from the dried fruit, the protein and the vitamins and minerals from the nuts, and the dark chocolate, the antioxidant boost. And again, depending on how thick or thin you make this, that's how much servings you're gonna get. And I'm gonna show you how to cut it up. So you spread this out here in a nice even layer. I recommend not making it too thick, because if you make it too thick, it makes it really hard to bite through. You wanna think about a chocolate bar you would buy in the store. You want to make it a nice even layer. You also could do this with peppermint. I've seen mint versions of this. That's another nice one, mixing in some essential oils. So you set that off to cool. And once it cools, through the magic of television, I'm going to show you what happens. So you can either cool it in the refrigerator, out at room temperature overnight, in the freezer, however fast you need to do this. All right, so you see it completely solidifies. Then using a good chef's knife, and you do not need to be afraid of a good sharp knife, okay? Dull knives are what hurt you. Sharp knives don't hurt you because they don't slip, okay? So I always recommend good sharp knives that you take care of. They do not need to be in even pieces. Go through the chocolate bark, cutting it up in every which way. It makes it sort of fun when the pieces are different shapes. They look really pretty in the jar, but also like maybe you're in the mood for a big piece. Maybe you're in the mood for a small piece. And they do not have to be perfectly even shaped. I think it comes out much better when it's not evenly shaped. So you kind of go along your chocolate, cutting in every direction. Careful to watch your fingers. If there are kids watching and doing this, I do recommend an adult does this with a good sharp knife. All right. And when you cut it, this is what it looks like. You see the nice even distribution of the chocolate and the nuts, right? And you take your chocolate and your nuts, I'll show you, and put it in a jar. Now you might have noticed in your recipe packet that I sent you, I also made you labels. I made you labels that you can put directly on the jar. Obviously, you can reproduce those labels if you want to use a specific one for your holiday. But I thought it would be nice to have everything ready to go if you're making these recipes for loved ones today, to use that label to put on the outside of the jar. This label, of course, that I made for you says contains nuts. If you're making a version that is nut-free because you're allergic to nuts in your household, obviously, feel free to make a different version and take that part out, because you could easily make this with seeds instead of with nuts and make a nut-free version, which is nice if you know somebody who's allergic to nuts and typically can't have chocolate from the store. Okay, so you take your recipe, see how pretty it looks in the jar? And you can use whatever container you like. You can decorate the containers. I recommend that as a really great way to get kids involved, whether it's with fun stickers or with special markers, ribbons. It's a really, really nice way. And there you go. That's how it'll look in your jar. You have enough for 2 portions here to serve as a dessert or to give as a special holiday gift. All right. So let's go back to our muesli. Let's check that out. Okay. So we had our muesli in the bowl here. Just gonna get a towel. There we go. Okay. So you see here are nuts all toasted in the oven, and I wish there was smell-o-vision because it smells good in here. And you just want to get your nuts slightly toasted, definitely a few minutes in the oven, but you also could think of it as just until they're fragrant. If you cook by smell, that works too. Okay, so we're gonna take your parchment paper and mix your muesli, your nuts into the rest of the muesli mixture. Until it's nice and even, making sure that those nuts and are all mixed in. And then you're gonna take your fruit. So I'm taking raisins for this one. and some dried blueberries because they're special. A lot of people might not have ever had dried blueberries before. I think they taste delicious in this recipe. Really make sure that you break up those raisins. And certainly using your hands for that is just fine. All right, so you mix it around just like so. And a portion, I should mention, of the muesli is rather small. Nuts, seeds, coconut, they're very high in calories. So the portion of muesli that you're making here is actually a very large amount. It will last the person you're making this for a very, very long time. All right, so again, I'm gonna fill it in your jar, okay? Whatever jar you like. And the jar is then also like a really great mixing tool if you see that it hasn't been totally incorporated. And again, this is a recipe that is so versatile. Giving it as a gift to somebody is really wonderful because as the tag suggestions that I had on there that you can say to people is that it can be used for anything. It could be put into a muffin recipe. It could be used just as your breakfast with cold cereal. It could be used for overnight oats where you mix in your milk of choice overnight and let it thicken up. You could use it for just topping on top of yogurt. Here is another mixing way. Mix it all different directions. Again, a really great way that kids watching can help to give it a nice mix. And there you go. A beautiful gift of health. Okay. All right, our next recipe. Go. 2-bean chili in a jar. So we all love to receive a nice gift of stew or a pot of soup. It's so wonderful. It's so warm and heartfelt. But you also can give it to them as something they can make another time, which is a really nice, appreciated gift because it means you don't have to immediately enjoy it, or it doesn't have to be something that you eat that you feel like you have to freeze and make room for. I'm going to show you how to give people a gift of making chili anytime they want. All right. So for this one, this is not a cook recipe that we're going to do now. The next few recipes, I'm going to show you how to do prep recipes for the jar. All right. So this one is really healthy because beans, as we all know, are really, really good for us. They're loaded with fiber, especially that soluble fiber that we all need to help protect us against heart disease, like the oatmeal to keep our cholesterol in check. They're also a really good part of a plant-based diet, which is all the rage these days, either vegetarian or vegan diet. And beans, especially a good variety of beans, is a really great, responsible way to follow a plant-based diet while getting good amounts of protein as well as good amounts of vitamins and minerals. So this recipe is going to include black beans as well as pinto beans and a spice mixture. So let's take a look. All right, so here I have my dried black beans, all right? Dried black beans, people tend to be really fearful of dried beans for many reasons, but they don't need to be. They're wonderfully easy to cook, a lot more affordable and cheaper, and look really nice in this jar. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your jar and you're gonna take your beans and you're gonna layer the black beans in first, or the pinto beans, whichever one you prefer. And you could even do this with multiple different types of beans. You don't have to limit it to the ones I suggested. It could also be kidney beans, navy beans, whatever works for you. And you can have lots of different layers in there. Now this one you want to be careful not to shake so you can see the distinct layers in your jar. All right, so you layer in your black beans there. And then you're going to layer in your pinto beans next. Okay, and you see how pretty they look in those layers? Just kind of want to make sure they even out a little bit. But Looks beautiful with the layers. And then you want to get some of these mini plastic bags. What I use for these mini plastic bags are actually jewelry bags. You can get them in most online stores, the big box real online stores, very easily. You could also use mini Ziploc bags, whatever works better for you. And in this spice mixture, what I did was I took the chili powder, the dried cumin, the garlic powder, salt, and dried parsley, mixed it together until it was nice and even there. I wrote spice mixture on the jar. I will put it inside of my jar here. Close the lid. And they have a beautiful gift. The label for this one, I think, is really important for a couple of reasons. One, because it gives the instructions of what people to do next. So with this recipe and with dried beans in general, which is why I separated out the spice mixture, it's really important to soak your beans ahead of time. You can do this overnight in just enough water until it covers the beans by about 2 inches. Because you want to get rid of any of the beans that float and you want to hydrate the beans. This makes beans a lot more digestible if you're someone that's prone to a lot of gas or indigestion from eating beans. It certainly would be my recommendation to always soak your beans first. So you would soak your beans first overnight, and then when the person goes to cook their chili, when you go to cook your chili, you can add, I put in the recommendation to have a basic mirepoix, which is onions, carrots, and celery. If you want to add meat to that recipe, you certainly can. A healthy option would be ground turkey. You could also add a lean ground beef, but ground turkey, ground bison, ground chicken, those would be the leanest options. Cook that meat through, add it to the mirepoix, and then you can add in the rehydrated beans, dump in the spice mixture, and adding the liquids. So adding the tomatoes and adding the stock. And again, all of this is on the instructions of the gift tag that you can provide to your gift recipient. But I think it looks beautiful, just like that with the spice mixture on top. All right, so we have a beautiful assortment. Let's keep going. Let's see what we have next. Sunday breakfast in a jar. Who doesn't love a good pancake breakfast, right? So let's see how we can make our own pancake mix. Pancake mix can be incredibly unhealthy from the store for a lot of reasons. It has a lot of stabilizers and chemicals. Also, some of them can have trans fats, which are the unhealthy fats that can cause heart disease. So you really definitely want to always try to make your own version of baking mixes whenever you can. And also, it's an opportunity to make it healthier. I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so in this here, you have 2 different flours, the white flour and the all-purpose flour. Whenever I'm making something that's a healthy baking option, like a muffin or a pancake or something like that, I never just use whole wheat flour because it comes out too dense. But you want to add the fiber from the white flour to make it healthier. So I go 50-50. Whenever a recipe tells me to go all-purpose or all whole wheat, I always mix 50-50, so it's a lighter consistency. You also could use any flour you want with this. You could use almond flour or gluten-free flour, oat flours. I mix it up in my family for this mix and this gift. Okay, so you have in here your flour. Then you have in here your rising agent, your baking powder. I mixed the salt and the sugar today. So it's a teaspoon of salt and a tablespoon of the white sugar. Give that a good mix here. All right, now here's where I make it a little healthier too. I'm gonna add some flaxseed, okay? Ground flaxseed. I'm gonna show you what that looks like, okay? Ground flaxseed looks like that. You never wanna buy whole flaxseed because whole flaxseed, your body just passes right through, okay? You do not digest whole flaxseed. You always wanna buy ground flaxseed, and you want to store it in a container in the refrigerator, a dark container, not one that light can pass through because it makes it go rancid. And you want to store it in the refrigerator. You never want to store flaxseed in the cabinet. All right, so you're giving that a good mix. And then finally, some spices. I'm adding cinnamon because it's a nice, easy one for gifting. At home, if I was using this pancake mix, sometimes I make my kids pumpkin pancakes. So I would add some pumpkin spice into this mixture. You could add ginger into this mixture. Lots of different seasoning, but cinnamon tends to be a good one for gifting because most people like a little bit of cinnamon. All right. So I'm going to show you a trick. Now that that's well incorporated, you also could use a sifter, but you do not have to. I'm going to take my jar. I'm going to take a funnel, okay? Because this can get really messy. I'm going to take my funnel and I'm going to put my pancake mixture into the funnel. And this batch makes about as much as, say, for like a family of 5, family of 4 to have a nice pancake breakfast on a Sunday morning. It makes about, depending on the size of the pancakes that you make, it makes about 15 to 20 pancakes. Kind of depends how big pancakes you make. I tend to make smaller pancakes because a portion size of a pancake, despite what you see at local breakfast joints, the portion size of a pancake is about the size of a DVD or an old CD. That's a portion size of a pancake. These massive pancakes are definitely not a portion size. They're a little larger than that. So it makes about, I make them even smaller even. I get about 15 to 20 pancakes out of this. And again, it's so much healthier to give a homemade pancake recipe, pancake mix. And this is something that people will appreciate, that they can, most people are, on a Sunday morning, kind of staying around the house these days. It's kind of getting stuck in there. Whew. My funnel's getting stuck. You can also spoon it in. And this is kind of a really nice gift that you can give somebody to have a fun breakfast that, the kids can help with. All you need to add to this recipe that the tag shows you is take this recipe, add it to mixed milk of choice, an egg, and some oil. You can even substitute out the oil and add fruit purees. You could do applesauce or pumpkin puree, like I was mentioning I do at home. And that's it. Mix it until it's just mixed and you've got some good pancakes. No reason to buy the expensive mixes in the store. And this is a lot healthier. All right, so now you've got your mix in there. I recommend giving as a gift the toppings on top that make it extra special. So you could take, I put in here freeze-dried strawberries. Freeze-dried strawberries are a big favorite and work really well when you're making pancakes. Coconut flakes and some granola, okay? You could even use some of that muesli instead of granola to put on top of your pancake mix. And there you go. Beautiful gift of Sunday breakfast or Saturday breakfast. I see it a little better that way. There you go. All right. Okay. Final option that you could try. Movie night kits. Okay. Movie night kit. So no one's going to the movie theater for the most part, right? Good to have a fun movie night at home. How can you make movie night fun at home? By making a popcorn kit mix as a gift. All right, so popcorn is one of those things that can be super healthy for you. It's a whole grain, and when you eat it, and if it's air popped or it's popped on the stovetop with olive oil or some healthy oil versus butter, not a lot of salt added to it, small portions of it is actually a really, really healthy snack. It's got a lot of insoluble fiber, which is good for your GI tract. And it can be a really fun thing to have in front of the movies when you make it yourself, okay? It's when you add a ton of butter to it or a ton of salt to it, or you eat the popcorn that comes from the movie theater that has those chemical products into it, or using the packaged seasoning, that it becomes not so healthy. So I wanted to show you a fun way that you can make a movie night kit for somebody. right? So you have the popcorn kernels in there. You can use any colored popcorn kernels you want. Popcorn kernels there are red popcorn kernels, there are purple popcorn kernels. You could also have a mix of the kernels that would actually look really pretty. And this amount, this is 2 cups, this makes about 60 cups of popcorn, which is amazing. It's a huge bowl of popcorn or a couple of bowls of popcorn. A portion size of popcorn is 3 cups of air pop popcorn or 2 cups of popcorn that have oil in it. So it's a relatively small portion. And then you can make all of these seasoning mixes to make it fun. So here I have a cinnamon sugar mix to make a sweet version. This is brown sugar mixed together with some cinnamon. I have in here a ranch version for those who are more savory. The ranch version here, in the ranch you have dried dill, salt, black pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder, and it gives the flavor of ranch dressing. So again, a salty mixture using fresh herbs. Fresh herbs are, or sorry, dried herbs. Dried herbs are really great to give you a healthy dose of fresh herb seasoning and antioxidants throughout the year. Using the dried herbs in your cooking, you could even remove the salt from this and make it even more heart healthy, much healthier than a bottled ranch dressing. And then for those who like the cheesy version, have in here garlic parmesan. So there's some fresh fresh Parmesan cheese, grated Parmesan cheese. Have in here parsley, having dried parsley, garlic powder, and paprika. And again, to make a healthier version of cheesy popcorn. Put those all together in here for a nice jar for everyone to try a different sample. And here I have assortment of all of our jars. Okay, all of our jars together, whether it's a popcorn night or a sweet treat from the chocolate bark, pancake breakfast, chili in a jar, or muesli anytime for lots of your cooking. Have lots of healthy ideas here that you can include for your gift giving this year. Don't always have to think of cookies. While cookies are delicious and cakes are delicious, give the gift of health this year. We all could definitely use a little extra health in our lives. I want to thank you for coming today, and I hope this gave you some inspiration and ideas for what you can make this holiday season and how you can give the gift of health to someone in your life. And certainly, if you have any questions, I will type my email address here in the chat because I don't see any questions right now. You can email me if you have any questions whatsoever. Oh, there we go. Try that again. There we go. All right. So you certainly can email me at any time. Happy to answer them. I hope this gives you some inspiration and ideas of what you can do. And thank you for listening. Happy holidays. Stay safe. And oh, wait, let me just make sure. Oh, there were some questions here. Let me just answer them before go. What size jars? So for the jars, depending on how many people you want to give it to. So you could give, theoretically, this is a, I think, 24-ounce jar. Yeah, 24-ounce jars. These are plastic, but you could also use the standard glass jars. You could make them in, depending on what you think is best. If you have someone you're giving a whole family a gift, the bigger jar is better, but they also make jars that are tiny. Like if you were giving them for office mates, they make little 4-ounce jars. That could be kind of cute, kind of stretch your buck a little bit more. So it really depends on what you want. For the bigger ones, like the ones I was suggesting, like the pancake, you could use the 24-ounce jar. You probably can also get away with a 16-ounce jar for this one. But the other ones, you can vary it up. And just check to see if there are any other questions. Thank you for all your kind words. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Stay safe and happy holidays, everybody. Take care.